The hidden wife of Moses, who was Zipporah. Have you ever stood beside someone great and felt invisible? Have you ever carried out something sacred, something costly, something that saved a life, and still no one spoke your name? This is the story of Zipporah, the wife of Moses, the woman history almost forgot, but heaven never did. She lived in the land of Midian, dry winds, stony soil, a land where exiles found shelter and silence. Her people were shepherds. Her father, Jethro, was a priest, not of Egypt, not of Israel, but of Midian, a man of mystery, wisdom, and old ways. Zipporah grew up far from Pharaoh's palaces. Her childhood was shaped by dust, wells, and the gentle bleating of sheep. She was not raised to be a queen. She was raised to be faithful, steady, watchful, strong in ways the world does not reward. And then he came, Moses, fleeing Egypt with murder on his hands and identity in ruins. He wandered into her life with eyes darkened by guilt, a past too heavy for words, and a future he couldn't see. Others called him an Egyptian, but Zipporah saw something else. He stood up at the well, defended the women, drew water with the heart of someone used to lifting burdens. She told her father about the stranger, and her father, wise, discerning, offered the man a place in their household. And so it was written almost too briefly. Moses agreed to stay with the man who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Exodus 2 verse 21. No proposal, no parade, just a quiet covenant. She married a man who had no land, no title, no voice in Egypt. She married a man running from the world. Years passed. She bore him a son. Moses named him Gershom, saying, I have become a foreigner in a foreign land. Exodus 2 verse 22. But Zipporah already knew what it meant to be foreign, to be faithful in silence, to carry legacy in obscurity. Then one day, everything changed. The bush burned and God spoke. Moses trembled, argued, tried to pass the calling away. But heaven does not stutter when it calls a name. God commanded, return to Egypt, deliver my people. And Zipporah followed, not to fame, not to favor, to danger, to Pharaoh, to a battle between heaven and empire. But before Moses could take his first step into destiny, something stopped him cold. At a resting place on the journey, Scripture says, at a lodging place on the way, the Lord met Moses and was about to kill him. Exodus 4 verse 24. No explanation, no warning, just wrath, sudden, holy, because the covenant had been neglected. Their son was uncircumcised. It was Zipporah who acted. While Moses stood still in the face of judgment, it was Zipporah who stepped forward. She took a flint knife. She circumcised their son, and she laid the foreskin at Moses' feet, saying, Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me. Exodus 4 verse 25. A cry not of romance but of cost. A covenant kept not with words, but with blood. And then the Lord let him alone. That was her divine encounter. No burning bush, no parted sea, just a midnight sacrifice. A mother's hands, a wife's obedience, a shadowed salvation. After that moment, Zipporah vanishes from the narrative for a time. Some believe Moses sent her back to Midian for safety. Others think the journey ahead was too dangerous, too divine. But silence does not equal absence. She carried their children. She bore the weight of separation. She endured the weight. We meet her again in Exodus 18, when her father, Jethro, brings her and the boys back to Moses in the wilderness. No speeches, no emotional reunion. The Bible is silent. But can't you feel it? That quiet dignity, that sacred presence. She returned with the children. Gershom, whose name meant exile. Eleazar, "My God is my help." She had raised them in waiting, watered them with patience, and brought them to the man who carried nations in his hands. Zipporah was never called a prophetess. She never sang like Miriam. She never judged like Deborah. But her obedience saved a prophet from death. Her faith preserved a covenant. Her silence carried weight. And for all who have ever walked in the background, she walks with you. Her legacy? Not in titles, but in what was birthed through her. A family brought under covenant. A prophet allowed to live. A nation still waiting to be delivered. So what do we learn from this hidden wife of Moses? 1. God sees the overlooked. The world may forget, but heaven remembers the faithful acts done in silence. 2. Obedience is not always public. Sometimes it's a midnight blade in a tent, not a trumpet blast at Sinai. 3. Covenant is costly. Zipporah paid a price her husband did not, and in doing so, she preserved his calling. 4. Faith doesn't need a spotlight. Some of the greatest acts of faith are never told on stages, but they echo through eternity. 5. Love sometimes bleeds. She called him bridegroom of blood, because love that sustains a calling is rarely soft. 6. Silence is not absence. When scripture falls quiet, God is still moving. 7. Legacy is often hidden. Zipporah's sons bore names that told the story: exile and divine help. Her life was etched into theirs. So let me ask you, have you ever felt like your story doesn't matter because no one's telling it? Have you loved someone deeply, supported them fiercely, and yet remained behind the scenes? Have you ever wondered if God sees your quiet faith? He does. He saw Zipporah, and he sees you. May you be blessed with the strength to obey when no one applauds. May your legacy, like hers, be written not in spotlights but in generations. And may you know, your story is not forgotten. It is hidden like treasure, precious in the sight of God. Thank you for walking through this story with me. If Zipporah's faith stirred something in your heart, share her story. Leave a comment. Pass it on to someone walking in quiet obedience. And remember this: heaven sees what history forgets, and your hidden faith echoes in eternity. Blessings always.